telling me, and I was with him. I was with him. I was with the brother the last time he ate flesh. Speaking about YAH'KI, you know what I mean? This is back in like 2016, I think it was. Maybe 2015, but no, about 2016, I think it was. The last time he ate flesh. It was we was eating on that bison, that buffalo meat. You know what I mean? We used to go right over here to the store and go barbecue it and all that. And then right after that, he started getting into the herbs and everything and was like, bro, I don't think we supposed to be doing it. But remember, I told him, I say, look, in order for me to bring it out, I got to be able to prove it biblically. I can't play and move around and, you know what I mean, just off what somebody say. So anyway, probably 2 years after he said that, I seen the elder Dimitri Milligan. I don't know if y'all know the elder with the long beard.
Absolutely, yeah, we know elder. Absolutely,
yeah. So I see him.
Elder Dimitri.
I see him on fire. This is roughly around 2018. I see him on fire, right? And he's like, he going into different first century documents like the Gospel of the Nazarenes and the Nazarene Acts of the Apostles and the homilies and all that. But at the time, I was going through my own thing, so I could really focus on what he was talking about. Dig. So about a year and a half, somebody background. I don't know if somebody's background, maybe they can mute it or whatever. But about a year and a half after that, I bump into the what's the brother name? Essene Nazarite Yirmiyahu. He be on Facebook. And he was bringing out the same information that the elder was bringing out. So this is like 3 witnesses for me over the space of like 3 years. You dig? Like, you know, I don't think we supposed to be eating flesh pots. And then earlier, right after Passover, so it's a little brother. I actually pulled out the streets back in 2008. He was 17 years old. I hadn't seen him since like 2011. So right when he was like 20, right? He reached out to me on Facebook out the blue and said, bro, we need to rap. And I was talking to the bro, phone kept getting disconnected. So I said, where you at? You still in St. Louis? He was like, yeah, so I'm gonna pull up. Send me the address. Pull up, and he got on his table the very same documents that the elder Dimitri Milligan was bringing out a year and a half later that the brother Essene Yirmiyahu was bringing out. And I'm like, bro, this like 3-4 witnesses about this flesh. So I asked him a few questions. He really couldn't. He couldn't give me a satisfactory answer. Some was, but a few that I just couldn't. So I was like, well, look, send me all them books. I'm gonna go start ordering everything. You did. So I sat down, y'all, and I just studied it. You know what I mean? And then the conclusion that I came up to was that this is our position over on honor and humility, that we can't lawful, that all the flesh that we are chewing on is unclean, whether it's lamb, whether it's cows, whether it's chickens, whether it's turkeys, not because it's unclean as per se like the pig or the crab. It's unclean because it hasn't been processed, prepared, and slaughtered how the Torah says it's supposed to be processed, prepared, and slaughtered. Dead flesh that we eat is supposed to be handled a certain way. And if it's not handled that way, it's considered unclean. Lamb can fall under the stipulation of being unclean. Ox can fall up under the classification of being unclean. Goats can fall up under the category of being unclean if it has not been properly handled, processed, slaughtered, and prepared how the Torah says it's supposed to be. And that's our position. Not that it's unclean because it's the swine, but because no slaughterhouse and no butcher house is slaughtering any of these animals based off the precepts of the Torah. And that's basically our position in a nutshell. All right, so I can give, I don't know if I can share my screen on here. We can go through a few scriptures and I can basically explain what I'm trying to say.
Hold on, let me see if I can. How do you do that, man? I know how to do it. I know how to do it on my computer. I don't know how to do it on the phone. Can you come help me?
But you still hold on for a minute.
Still should be going to
share screen. Right, I see right here. Let me see if I can pull maybe I can share my screen. Hold on 1 second, y'all. Let me see if I can share my. I can put the scriptures up right here. All right, blue letter. Okay, I got it up. Let me see if I can share it now. That's right, y'all on y'all phones, right? Okay. Let's do it like this. Okay, it says you disabled participant screen share. I guess you got to enable it.
Yeah, we're going to get that ready for you. We're just trying to figure it out on the phone, so hold on for 1 minute. Not even going to take a minute.
Okay, brother.
Nally, I'm just going to make you a host. That will make it easier, okay?
Okay.
All right.
You are the host now. Okay. Let me see if I can share it. Okay, yep. Hey. I like Zoom. I might have to get off. I might have to start using Zoom and not StreamYard. I usually use StreamYard. All right, can y'all see that?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. So where I want to go to first is the Jerusalem Council in the New Testament. You got the disciples there. You got Paul. You got Barnabas. And the topic is Paul finally comes up to Jerusalem for the first time to talk to the apostles about his revelations, about what he's teaching out amongst the Gentile nations. All right. And then at this time, you got James or Yaakov or HONORANDHUMILITYSTL, James the Just, which just so happens to be the Messiah's biological brother. At this moment in history, he's the leader of the whole movement. After the Messiah died and resurrected and ascended, he left his brother ended up becoming in charge by the time Acts 15 rolls around. All right, so he's actually in charge of his brother's movement after he ascended. All right, and the proof of it is in Acts. We're gonna go to Acts 15. Acts 15 first. All right, you see that up there that says the council at Jerusalem. All right, I'm gonna hit the Strong's tab. So, and then I'm gonna scroll down. All right, I'm gonna scroll down. All right, notice right there the subtitle says James's judgment. All right, James is an apostle. He's actually the Messiah's biological brother. And at this council or this conference, he's the one that stands up and renders a decision on what's to be taught amongst the Gentile nations. All right. One of the topics was circumcision. And what else came up was dietary restrictions, how to eat. And another thing was sexual morality, fornication and all that. All right. But I just want to show you right here in verse 13, Acts 15:13, it says, James's judgment. And after they held their peace, James answered, saying, Men and brethren, hearken unto me. Simeon, that's Peter right there, have declared how the Most High at the first did visit the Gentiles to take out of them a people for his name, and to disagree the words of the prophets as it is written. After this, I will return and will build again the tabernacle of David, which is fallen, and I will build again the ruins thereof, and I will set it up. There, he's actually quoting Amos, the 9th chapter. This is Amos chapter 9, verses 11 through 12. He's quoting. It's a prophecy about the house of David being restored. All right, and the breaches being restored and everything. All right. It says, I will build again the ruins thereof, and I will set it up, that the residue of men might seek after the Almighty, and all the Gentiles upon whom my name is called, saith the Most High, who doeth all these things. Known unto the Heavenly Father all his works from the beginning of the world. Verse 19. Wherefore my sentence is, so James is giving a judgment. right? Meaning he's the one in charge. He's the one in authority. All right. And this charge is going out to Paul specifically, but Barnabas was rolling with him at this time too. All right. Wherefore my sentence is that we trouble not them which from among the Gentiles are turned to the Heavenly Father. And what he mean by trouble them not, because there was a big argument about whether grown men need to get circumcised or not. So James stands up and say, look, leave them alone. Don't even trouble them. All right. Among the Gentiles that are turned to the Most High. But that we write unto them that they abstain from pollutions of idols and from fornication and from things strangled and from blood. All right. So this right here is the directive in writing given to Paul, and Barnabas is rolling with Paul too, for the overseas communities that's choosing to believe in our Messiah. All right. Don't trouble them about circumcision. All right. But this is what you teach while you among them. All right. This is going out from the top apostle on down. All right. Paul, if you out there among the Gentiles, this is what to be taught. All right. All right. Abstain from pollutions of idols and from fornication and from things strangled and from blood. Verse 21. For Moses of old time, having every city them that preach him, being read in the synagogues every Shabbat day. All right. I want to do one thing though. I want to jump down to verse 29 because he repeats himself. All right. When y'all get a chance, read all of it, but he repeats himself in verse 29. The same directive. Verse 20 said pollutions of idols. 29 says that you abstain from meats offered to idols. So the pollutions of idols it was talking about is going into foods, meats, foods offered to idols. All right. And from blood, and from things strangled, and from fornication, from which if you keep yourselves, ye shall do well, fare well. Now, this is roughly 20 years after the Messiah had died and resurrected. This is around the year 50, give or take 8 of the Common Era, AD. All right. So the veil in the temple has already been ripped. All right. We understand what priesthood we up under now, the Melchizedek or the Melchizedek priesthood. All right. Mashiach is already the high priest of a greater temple officiating in the heavens. And the order still goes out about abstaining from meats or foods offered to idols. We also got to keep in context this. There was no New Testament at this time. So what he's commanding and what he's speaking on can only be found in what we call the Torah. Because there is no New Testament at the time. We have what's called the New Testament now. You know what I mean? That these things were collected later and later agreed upon by councils of men, what's considered New Testament, what's canon, and what's pseudepigrapha, what's considered non-canon. You know what I mean? That's why you got stuff that's not in the New Testament, like the epistles of Barnabas. All right. The Clementine homilies, books of Adam and Eve, 12 patriarchs, Jubilees, Jasher, Enoch. You understand? You got all these extra biblical books that didn't make it into the canon of scripture. But you got to remember, that's an agenda, that's something that was agreed upon by certain men and who had certain authority. All right. And the majority of the time, these people were not even our people. They just was those that was ruling over us at the time. You know what I mean? So, but I just want to show that there was no New Testament at this time. When he's saying to abstain from meats offered to idols, that understanding is coming out the Torah. That understanding is coming out the Torah. All right. So the question is, well, what is meat offered to idols according to the Torah? What is it? Now, I'm not saying like in Numbers 25, where Israel was in the wilderness and they went to a Moabite feast and the Most High was angry. I'm asking what specifically entails meats offered to idols. What specifically entails it according to the Torah? because there's no New Testament at this time. What is this brother commanding Paul and them to teach among the nations? What does he command them to teach? All right. Now, I mean, if anybody want to chime in, that's all good too. But I do want to go to the Torah and see if we can get some understanding and track this understanding down.
Yeah, I just want to make sure the position. I want to hear everything before I even ask the question, because at the same time, they're still under that new order of Melchizedek, which we still, even though there was no New Testament, we still got to take that in consideration and the work of what the HaMashiach did during that time and what was being changed. So
absolutely,
I want to hear this.
Absolutely.
Then, of course, I'm gonna listen first. Then, of course, we'll chop it up.
Absolutely, absolutely, brother. And look, those are excellent points, and that's why I brought up the veil had already been torn at this point. They under the order of Melchizedek at this point. These are believers in him right now, specifically the chief apostle, telling other believers, if you're going to teach about this movement amongst the nations, part of the understanding is meats offered to idols is still a no-no. It's still a no-no. Under the order of Melchizedek. All right. Now, when we get into what we call the Torah, we got the order of Melchizedek or Melchizedek before even the establishment of the Levitical priesthood. Because we're gonna have to go there too and explain about this flesh we eat. You feel me? Because we got stories of Abraham chewing on or preparing animals for angels to eat in Genesis 18. We read that in the Bible. I'm not gonna try to explain it away esoterically like we ain't reading it. We read in Genesis 18, Abraham prepared some animals for angels to eat before the destruction of Sodom and Gomorrah. But that would technically be under the order of Melchizedek because the Levitical priesthood wasn't established. We read in Genesis 27 where Isaac about to die and he tell Esau, make me some of that savory venison so my soul can bless you before you die. Correct? All right. But that's technically under the order of Melchizedek too. That the Levitical priesthood had not been established at that time. So we're going to hit them stories too. We're going to hit them too and see if the understanding of flesh offered to idols even holds up in that story. You all right? No problem. We're going to get there, bro. I'm glad you brought that up though. All right. Let's go. All right. So I'm going to go to Leviticus, the 17th chapter next. Remember, the question is, what is meats offered to idols according to the Torah? And in the Torah, you got several priesthoods. You got the order of Aaron, and then you got the order of Melchizedek, even in the Torah. Even in the Torah, all right? Let's get there. Leviticus 17 first. I want to show something. What is it according to the Torah? All right? Because that's the understanding he would have had to been coming from, because there was no New Testament at the time. All right, but the priesthood is in effect though. We can't knock that. Just because there was no agreed upon New Testament does not mean that the priesthood of Melchizedek was not in effect. It was, right? Before the establishment of Aaron and his sons, and after Messiah did what he did for us. All praises. All right. Leviticus 17:1. And the Most High spake unto Moshe, saying, speak unto Aharon and unto his sons, and unto all the children of Israel, and say unto them, this is the thing which the Most High hath commanded, saying, what man soever there be of the house of Israel that kills an ox, or a lamb, or a goat in the camp, or that killeth it out of the camp. All right, let me interject real quick. Do we all know where we at, historically speaking, when this is written? We in the wilderness. We're in the wilderness. All right, the same place where we got the what we call the dietary laws, Leviticus 11, Deuteronomy 14. You know what I mean? You can't eat the swine because it don't, chew the cud. We, in other words, geographically, we in the same place where we walked in a circle for 40 years. All right. So this is in the wilderness too. That's why it says in the camp or out the camp. And what animals do we have? Lamb, goat, or ox.
Right.
All right. So these are animals that Israel eats to this day. Right. This ain't pork, shrimp, crab, and lobster. This the lamb, Passover lamb, goated Passover. You know what I mean? Some of us cook oxtails, baby. You know what I mean? I ain't gonna lie to you, boy.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Boy, good night. But so all this is quote unquote clean flesh. All right. But these are the stipulations. All right. What we read in Leviticus 11 and Deuteronomy 14 about what we can and can't eat, y'all, is contingent upon this. It's contingent upon this. All right. What man soever there be at the house of Israel that kills an ox or a lamb or a goat in the camp, or they killeth it out of the camp, and brings it not unto the door of the tabernacle or the congregation to offer an offering unto the Most High before the tabernacle or the Most High. So we got dead flesh because it's been killed. All right. Dead flesh that has been killed is classified as an offering because it has to be brought before the doorway of the tabernacle to offer an offering unto the Most High before the tabernacle of the Almighty. Now, we all know later the tabernacle was expanded and became the temple. But in the wilderness, it was a portable tent, basically. All right? So if you kill an ox, lamb, or a goat in the camp or outside the camp, and you don't bring that to the door of the tabernacle to offer an offering unto the Almighty before the tabernacle of the Almighty, blood shall be imputed unto that man. Blood shall be imputed unto that man. I mean, that's old English saying you guilty of shed innocent blood. That's murder. He have shed blood, and that man shall be cut off from among his people. So what we see so far as in the wilderness, based off the flesh that you can't eat, it has to be brought before the tabernacle or the door of the tabernacle and presented as a certain type of offering. If it's not done that way, according to Leviticus 17:4, you've shed innocent blood. And then we see that there's a judgment of being cut off. Watch this, verse 5. To the end that the children of Israel may bring their sacrifices. Dead flesh is an offering. Dead flesh is a sacrifice, which they offer in the open field, even that they bring them unto the Almighty, unto the door of the tabernacle of the congregation, unto the priests, and offer them for peace offerings unto the Most High. So we got dead flesh, ox, lamb, goat, considered an offering, considered a sacrifice, considered a peace offering. That's the category it falls up under. The food that you eat is considered peace offerings. It's a peace offering. Because what other purpose are you killing it for? It's not a sin offering. It's not a whole burnt offering. What kind of offering is it? The food that you eat. Because we see today everyday meats. You know, what if I just wanted to go get me a cheeseburger or whatever? And we think there's a classification in the Torah as everyday meats that's not in there. It's actually a peace offering. If you decide to kill it in the camp or out the camp, there's rules to it. It has to be brought to the priest at the doorway of the tabernacle and offered as a peace offering unto the Most High. Now look what the priest got to do. And the priest shall sprinkle the blood of the dead animal upon the altar of the Most High at the door of the tabernacle of the congregation. So there has to be a priest involved. All right. Now we'll say, okay, well, we ain't up under the Levitical order. I'm with you on that. But there still has to be a qualified man. Abraham wasn't up under the Levitical order either, but he built altars. There still has to be, and look, you can't build any old type of altar. Altars are according to the law of God. Abraham built altars when he first got into the land of Canaan in Genesis 12. Genesis 13, he built altars, meaning he knew the law of building altars. All right. So there still has to be a qualified man at some type of altar to offer this dead animal. And the priest shall sprinkle the blood upon the altar of the Almighty at the door of the tabernacle of the congregation, and burn the fat for a sweet savor unto the Most High. The fat is the fat off the organs, because you know if you didn't kill the animal before, you got to gut it, right? You got to skin it, you got to gut it, you got to pull all the organs out of it, and then the priest was supposed to take the fat off the organs and burn it on the altar as well. You see? So this is the process. This is the preparation or the process that has to take place if you want to chew on the clean animals according to Leviticus 11 and Deuteronomy 14. There's a process there. There's a process there. All right. The blood has to be sprinkled on the altar. The fat off the organs after you gut this animal has to be burned on the altar at the doorway of the tabernacle by a qualified man who's officiating at the altar. Watch this. Verse 7. And they shall no more offer their sacrifices unto who? Devils. Devils, after whom they have gone a-whoring. This shall be a statute forever unto them throughout their generations. And they shall no more offer their sacrifices unto devils. Y'all, if it's not done how we reading it right here, then it falls up under the category of being offered to devils or idols. There's a preparation, a process, or slaughtering laws on how to do a clean animal before you chew on it. And that's why the Nazarene brothers, when you go back in history, a lot of the Nazarene brothers, they stayed away from the flesh. We're going to get into the Maccabees too, because the Maccabees, when the Greek invaded Jerusalem, Mattathias' sons was a priestly family. All right. Now, when they went to the wilderness because they was finna fight a guerrilla warfare against the Greeks because they refused to be Hellenized, they took their wives, their children, and their cattle with them. Right? But when you read 2 Maccabees 5 and 27, that whole 3.5 years, they ate vegetables. They ate vegetables because they did not want to be defiled. Now, how could a priestly family who knows how to properly slaughter animals, who has cattle, how would they be defiled if they decide to kill one of their animals in the wilderness and eat flesh? You know what they understood that we just finding out now? Y'all, the temple is under attack. The altar is profaned. You can't lawfully slaughter and process no type of animal and eat on it, or you're defiled. And if anybody knew how to slaughter animals, it would have been the sons of Mattathias. They were priests. You see? But the altar was under attack. It was profaned. See? So they didn't say, you know what? We're going to go ahead and slaughter animals anyway. They say, no, we're not going to eat no flesh until we rededicate the temple, until we rededicate the altar. If we do, we would contract defilement. All right? So even they knew that to lawfully eat on any type of flesh, certain things got to be in place here. All right. Notice what verse 7 says again. And they shall no more offer their sacrifices unto devils. So if it's not done how we just read, brought to the door of the tabernacle, blood sprinkled on the altar by the priest, the fat burned on the altar by the priest. If that process is not taking place with your lamb, with your goat, with your ox, then guess what? It's considered offered to devils. It's not offered to the Almighty, because clean flesh has to go through a lawful process so you can eat it. This shall be a statute forever unto them throughout their generations. All right. I want to jump down for y'all. Now watch this. Somebody may ask about the fish. Verse 13. And whatsoever man there be of the children of Israel, or of the strangers that sojourn among you, which hunt and catch any beast or fowl that may be eaten, he shall even pour out the blood thereof and cover it with dust. It even got to be properly drained, y'all. It got to be properly drained, and the blood got to be covered up with the dust, not down the sewer in the slaughterhouse. See, everything that we can lawfully eat has to go through a proper slaughtering in order for us to eat it. All right. Now I'm almost done. I want to show y'all something else. Realize we just showed too that these are considered peace offerings. These are considered peace offerings, right? Let's go to Leviticus 7 and get the Torah on peace offerings. Leviticus 7. Leviticus 7. So when James told Paul, teach this among the Gentiles, this is part of the Torah that he was talking about, right? Because meats offered to idols, he would have to be coming from a Torah perspective because there was no New Testament written at the time. And he's speaking this under the order of Melchizedek because Messiah had already died, resurrected, and ascended by then. And it's still on the table. Meat offered to idols is a no-no. Well, what is meat offered to idols? Right? All the flesh you eat that has not been properly processed, prepared, and slaughtered according to the Torah, that's offered to devils or idols. And that's why James told Paul, teach that, because guess what? You better believe there ain't a grocery store among the Gentiles. There ain't a slaughter or a butcher stall among the Gentiles that are following the Torah when it comes down to how to properly kill an animal. They're not doing that, especially today. Y'all know that. Y'all done seen some of the videos of what they're doing in them slaughterhouses. It's horrendous, but it's not according to the Torah. It's not according to the Torah. All right. Now, we read it where it's called a peace offering, right? Look at this. And this is the Torah or the law of the sacrifice of peace offerings, which he shall offer unto the Most High. If you offer it for a thanksgiving, then he shall offer the sacrifice of thanksgiving, unleavened cakes, mingled with oil, and unleavened wafers, anointed with oil. And cakes mingled with oil of fine flour fried. This is a peace offering, but it's considered a thanksgiving peace offering. Besides the cakes, he shall offer for his offering leavened bread with the sacrifice of thanksgiving of his peace offering. And of it he shall offer one out of the whole oblation for an heave offering unto the Almighty. And it shall be the priest that sprinkled the blood of the peace offerings and the flesh of the sacrifice of his peace offerings for thanksgiving shall be eaten the same day that it is offered. He shall not leave any of it until the morning. So y'all, this is expiration. The Thanksgiving peace offering has to be eaten the day it is killed. The day that it is offered, which is the day it is killed, it got to be eaten that day. It cannot remain to the morning. Now, a lot of us got deep freezers full of flesh. Been in there all year, 5-6 months. Watch this, verse 16. But if the sacrifice of his offering be a vow or a voluntary offering, it shall be eaten the same day that he offereth his sacrifice. And on the morrow also the remainder of it shall be eaten. So this is a peace offering as well, but it's called a voluntary peace offering. All right. You can have leftovers with this, but it only can be the next day following. All right. But the remainder of the flesh of the sacrifice on the third day shall be burnt with fire. And if any of the flesh of the sacrifice of his peace offerings be eaten at all on the third day, it shall not be accepted, neither shall it be imputed unto him that offereth it. It shall be an abomination. And y'all, we ain't talking about pork, shrimp, crab, and lobsters. The peace offerings was lamb, goat, and bulls. It shall be an abomination. And the soul that eateth of it shall bear his iniquity. Because, trip off this, that's the next argument. Well, I ain't kill it, but you eating it though. Because some people be on there, well, no, I ain't never killed an animal. Even if you eat it, you still got to bear your sin or bear his iniquity. And so you eat an abomination. So we see that dead flesh, the dead flesh can't be dead no longer than 2 days, yo. Now, how old is any of that flesh we go into the grocery store buying? I guarantee all of it's been dead longer than 2 days. I guarantee it. I guarantee it. What about how the animals were tortured and raped and slaughtered? Was it any of it done how we just read in Leviticus 17? I mean, brought to the doorway of the tabernacle. Well, we know that ain't happening. What about the blood sprinkled on the altar? We know that ain't happening. What about the fat off the organs burned on the altar? We know that ain't happening. To a priest, a man certified in the, officiating of the Most High's ways. We know that ain't happening. What about the blood? Is the blood poured into the dust and covered with dust? We know that ain't happening. Well, y'all, guess what? That means it's unclean, it's abominable. We gonna bear our iniquity. We in danger of being cut off. And guess what? It falls up under the category of food or meat offered to idols. And that's what James, the just Messiah's brother, was telling Paul to teach when he's out there among the Gentiles. All right. Paul didn't agree with him, though. That's why you got Paul in Corinthians saying, whatsoever is sold in the shambles, eat it and don't ask no questions for conscience sake. For the earth is the Lord's. You see what I'm saying? So what you have here is just conflict between the disciples and Paul and them. You just got conflict. You just got, he didn't see it necessarily how they saw it. But eating meat offered to, abstaining from meats offered to idols and eat whatever is in the Gentile butcher shop is not the same thing. It's two different messages is what I'm trying to get y'all to see. All right. When James told Paul teach that, he was referring to how the dead flesh is processed, prepared, and slaughtered. All right. So it can be acceptable or deemed righteous for you to chew on it. If that's not the case, then it can't be chewed on. It can't be chewed on. It's an abomination. So I know today some people be like, well, I eat meat, but it ain't meat offered to idols. Well, when I ask you, okay, well, what is meat offered to idols according to the Torah? Everybody I ask be like, I don't know. Well, how you know you're not eating meat offered to idols then? Right? And if what I just read is not the correct understanding of meat offered to idols, show me then. Show me how, you know what I mean? Well, no, the animal that you eat don't got to be processed, prepared, or slaughtered lawfully. You can boil it in acid if you want to and eat on it. Come on, of course, every animal that you chew on it has to be prepared lawfully or what? You doing your own thing. Even down to the fish. You go fishing, you catch fish. Don't that got to be gutted? Don't they got to be drained and gutted and organs pulled out and the head chopped off? You feel me? And then salt poured on it to preserve it before it arrive in the grocery store and then on your plate? What I'm asking is, it makes sense that the Most High has slaughtering laws for these animals. It just makes sense. And if those laws aren't being kept, then y'all, we eating unclean food. We eating unclean food. That's why I'm saying I'm not here to argue about Leviticus 11 and Deuteronomy 14. I'm here to argue about that. You reading that, right? But those laws are contingent on if it's been processed, prepared, and slaughtered correctly. If it hasn't, it falls up under the category offered to devils. Unclean. We fall up under the category of being cut off from among our people, bearing our iniquity. You understand? Now, I want to show y'all this. I only got a few more, and then we can open it up to dialogue for questions and all that, and that's all good. I want to go show y'all the one in the Apocrypha about the Maccabees and them, just real quick, and then I want to go hit on Abraham and them too. All right, because we read that Abraham understood the laws of the Most High before they was even written down under the order of Melchizedek. Let me pull this up real quick. All right, am I going too fast for y'all? Do y'all? Okay. All good.
Nah, we will have questions. Probably, if not today, for sure, because I got a lot flowing through my mind as you're going through these scriptures. Continue to teach out.
And you got my number. You got my number, bro. Always reach out to me. It's all good.
Yeah, I even have your old number, but yeah, we got you. I got you.
Yeah, we can rap about whatever. It ain't even got to be about you. You know, just hey man, I'm calling to see what's up.
For sure.
Checking on you, bro.
No doubt.
This right here is we're gonna go to First Maccabees in the Apocrypha vein. First Maccabees. Can I move this over? Let me see. Yep, I can. All right, First Maccabees, we're gonna go to chapter 2. I want to show y'all that when they fled to the wilderness, they had their cattle with them. All right, go to 21st Maccabees chapter 2, verse 28. And then we're gonna show that even though they had their cattle with them, they did not eat the animals. They did not eat the animals. And remember, y'all, this is a priestly family. All right. First Maccabees 2. All right. And I'm going to start at 27. Let me zoom in a little bit. First Maccabees 2 and 27. And Mattathias cried throughout the city with a loud voice, saying, whosoever is zealous of the law and maintain the covenant, let him follow me. So he and his sons fled into the mountains and left all that ever they had in the city. Then many that sought after justice and judgment went down into the wilderness to dwell there, both they and their children and their wives and their cattle, because afflictions increased sore upon them. So we see they took their cattle, their flock, with them into the wilderness. We see that? Okay? So I wanted to show that. And this is when the Greeks came into Jerusalem. This is where we get the Feast of Dedication from. Y'all know that. Feast of Dedication, the Greeks came into Jerusalem, tried to Hellenize the Israelites. A certain family was like, nah, we ain't going for that. All right, they sacrificed a pig on the altar, set up the abomination of desolation, attacked the temple, took the gold up out of it, all that. All right, so Mattathias and his sons fled to the wilderness with their wives, children, and cattle, right? Because of the afflictions. Now, let's go to 2 Maccabees. Let me show you. We're going to 2 Maccabees, chapter 5. All right. 2 Maccabees, chapter 5. What is it? Verse 25. All right. This is when the Greeks was coming into Jerusalem. All right. I'm going to start at 24 so y'all can see that. He sent also that detestable ringleader Apollonius with an army of 220,000, commanding him to slay all those that were in their best age and to sell the women and the younger sort, who coming to Jerusalem and pretending peace did forbear till the holy day of the Shabbat, when taking the Yahudim, keeping holy day, he commanded his men to arm themselves. And so he slew all them that were going to the celebrating of the Shabbat, and running through the city with weapons, slew great multitudes. But Judah Maccabee, with 9 others, or thereabout, withdrew himself into the wilderness, and lived in the mountains after the manner of beasts, with his company, who fed on herbs continually, lest they should be partakers of the pollution. The temple is under attack. The altar is profaned, and our people are being destroyed, even though they're in the wilderness with their wives, children, and cattle. Guess what they ate? Herbs or vegetables. And notice what they said. The reason they were eating the herbs is because they did not want to be partakers of the pollution. What pollution? How would they been polluted if they just killed their own animals? You understand? Started that barbecue grill up and start chewing on it. What they understood is what we just read in Leviticus. If if the proper things are not in place, you can't lawfully chew on no clean flesh because there are stipulations that are not in place. In our case, there ain't no temple and there ain't no altar. Your body is the temple now. And there's a temple in the heavens in which the Messiah is the high priest. But you ain't read no word in the kingdom of heaven or in the temple of heaven, the Most High slaughtering animals, chewing on animals in the heavens. The order of Melchizedek doesn't give you the right to chew on animals and disregard how the process or how to properly process it. They don't disregard that just because the Messiah died and ascended. The order still was stay away from meat offered to idols. Well, what is meat offered to idols? Every piece of flesh that is not properly processed, prepared, and slaughtered, how it is stipulated in the Torah. If not, it's considered unclean and abomination and offered to devils. And even the Maccabees and them understood that. And they got their cattle with them. They had their cattle with them. So this is why when you see like the Nazarene brothers back in the day, when you get into the history of it, going back to like even the early church fathers and all that, they all understood that the movement, them brothers didn't chew on flesh. They all understood it. You know what I mean? And even today, like when I start seeing certain things, I'm like, oh, okay. That's why. Because dietary laws, if we're going to keep dietary laws, y'all, well, the process is contingent on it. The eating, I'm sure the shot said, the eating on dead animal flesh is contingent upon how it's prepared and slaughtered. That's where our imposters get kosher from. Where they get kosher. And you be like, oh, that's just Talmudic stuff. Y'all, we in the Torah. They get the whole idea of kosher food from the Torah. That's where they get it from. You know what I mean? Now they come up with their own, traditions. A rabbi got to pray over it. And I ain't talking about none of that. You know what I mean? I ain't talking about none of that. But the whole idea of it being properly processed, they get that out of the Torah. All right. I see a hand raised. You got a question, my sister? Go ahead.
Yeah, I was just going to make a comment. I guess that's where the Muslims get halal meat from, right? Too.
Yes. Yep. Yeah. That's where the Muslims get halal and the ish get kosher from. Y'all, they really get it out the Torah in Leviticus. You know what I mean? So we talk about how we keep dietary laws, but the process, the preparation, and the slaughtering of that is necessary for it to be clean flesh or deemed clean flesh according to the Almighty. You understand? Now, some people just are plant-based or vegan just for health reasons. Salute. I understand that. I feel the best of my life since I stopped eating the flesh. I ain't gonna lie to you. It's been about 10 months for me now. You know what I mean? I feel the best in my life. I ain't gonna lie to you. Like I got so much energy now, it's crazy. I feel like I turned 40 in a couple weeks, y'all. I feel like I'm 20 again. Like, I'm a youngin', you know what I mean? But from a health standpoint too, I just it makes the most sense to me in the world. It's a sister that fellowship with us. She's 75 years old. Sister named Robbie Dobson. Ema Robbie, we call her, right? And she been riddled with diabetes her whole life. But she stopped, she started listening to what we were saying, and she stopped eating flesh and like the dairy products in June of this year, like June 10th. Y'all, by August 10th, she totally reversed her diabetes at the age of 75. You know what I mean? She just went back to a Genesis 129 meal plan. Like she don't really even eat that much cooked vegan food. She eat like just raw fruits and salads and all that. And this 75-year-old woman, her pancreas started yielding the proper amount of insulin, and she ain't on the shots no more. So, and that's major because diabetes is like a death blow to a lot of our people when they get diagnosed with diabetes. My father died from a diabetic stroke back in 2006. You know what I mean? At a young age, he was 52 years old. Young. You know what I mean? So for me, that was my heart was rejoicing when I heard that this elderly mother of 75 in 60 days reverse their diabetes by simply going back to what the Most High ordained in the beginning. You know what I mean? So outside of like the scriptural breakdowns we also got healing testimonials behind it too. You know what I mean? So with that, you can't do nothing but praise and thank the Almighty behind it. Indeed. You got anything else you want to ask, sister? If not, I just wanted to show Abraham and them, and then we can open it up for some questions.
Well, I know a lot of people are going to ask, like I after this teaching, I mean, I'm vegan, but I think I'm in agreement with what you're saying. But I know a lot of people are going to ask, so is this a salvation issue? I know I'm going to hear that. Like if we were to share this with people, that's the next thing. Well, so are you saying that I'm going to be lost if I'm not making it into the kingdom if I don't stop, or you know? So how do you get around that question?
And that's an excellent question. And what I've been telling brothers and sisters since we've been bringing this out is every man and woman got to live off their own convictions anyway. Like I can show you scriptures where it say you gonna bear your iniquity, like we just read. That soul shall be cut off, like we just read. You understand? And that still don't resonate with certain people because they may just not be there yet. So I can read scriptures like we just read about if it's not offered this way, you shall be cut off because blood is imputed unto you. All right. Now you can take that and say, well, the Most High meant that back then. It ain't that serious now. Like wherever you at with it within your own spirit. One thing Malaki can't do is make you or force you to believe anything. You feel me? All I can do is show you what I've been shown and say, like, look, okay, well, we just read a scripture about blood being imputed unto you because you shed blood. That soul shall be cut off. You got to bear your iniquity. But maybe that ain't good enough for you. You know what I mean? So is it salvational? When I read certain stuff like, and he shall be cut off, and you got to bear your iniquity. In my spirit, I feel, I need to make some changes. That's how I feel when I read something like that. But the next brother may not see it like that. He may be like, well, it really ain't that serious to me. I'm going to let the Most High increase me in due season. And that's very understandable because, y'all, we can share 1,000 scriptures with everybody. But every man and woman is still going to live off their own convictions when you're done talking. You can't beat nobody up and make them believe what you believe. All you can do is have a conversation with them and show them. For me, that lit a fire in me. I ain't gonna lie to you. When I read that, I said, oh, good night. So to me, it's salvational because I was like, oh, cut off, shedding blood, bearing iniquity. That sounds like the same thing he said if we don't keep the Shabbat, the Sabbath. You know what I mean? That's the same language he be using. So with me, I was just like, oh, good night. So to me, that struck a nerve with me. To the next brother and sister, it may not. But see, that all depends on where you're at in your walk. You know what I mean? So to answer your question, sister, I would just read back to Leviticus 17 and the Leviticus 7. And you're going to read things like, blood shall be imputed unto that man. He have shed blood. That soul shall be cut off. He shall bear his iniquity. You feel me? And then let that resonate with the brother or sister that you sharing it with. Either they gonna be inspired to say, I gotta make some changes now. Or they're gonna be like, okay, I read that, but I don't think it's that serious. Either way, that man or woman gotta live off their own convictions anyway.
Brother, can you go over Genesis 9:3 so I can understand that better? Than I understand everything that you're saying. And Genesis 9. Yes. Genesis 9:3, because that one's confusing to me then too.
Absolutely. Can I look before I do the Genesis 9, I just want to show the Abraham under the order, and then let's do Genesis 9 as well. Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. All right, sure. Let's go here. Let's go to bad, y'all. How do I move this out of the way? Well, I'll share it right here on this one. And again, this what I be trying to tell the brothers when they be trying to explain certain, like, look, let's not get in the spirit of trying to act like certain things are not written. You know what I mean? We read Genesis 18 where Abraham fed angels dead animal flesh. We read that. We read Genesis 27 where Isaac told Esau, make me some of that savory venison. See, I don't like to get into the games of, oh, no, that really ain't. No, let's not do that. And it's the same with Genesis 9. Let's not play like, we're not reading what we read. But we can go back over it and see if we can get some, some deeper understanding. Because it really ain't about what we read. It's just about where our understanding is. All of us know how to read. All of us know how to comprehend. It's just where our understanding, because we all see things different. All of us do. Look, you ever wonder why the whole nation of Israel got the same precepts, but we all got different understandings on everything? Everything. Pick a topic. You're going to see brothers on this side of the aisle and brothers on this side of the aisle. You understand? Because y'all, it's one truth, it's just many sides to it. It's one truth, it's just many levels. So you naturally going to have a different understanding than the next brother or sister. That's natural. Our thing is not to become enemies. Like we have a different understanding and we be like, man, the hell with them. I'm going to put Satan on them and throw curses. They're like, come on, bro, stop that. Stop that. Every brother or sister that I've ever fellowshiped with, we've always saw things differently at some time. That's okay. It's okay. There ain't no reason to be all like, what they call butthurt about it. Stop it. But yeah, we definitely gonna get into that, sis. I want to show y'all this though, real quick. All right, this is Genesis 18 and 1. I gotta go get back to the whatchamacallit though, because I want to show the definition. My bad, y'all. Gotta go back to because I want to show y'all these definitions. Matter of fact, first Genesis 26. I want to show Abraham kept the laws. Genesis 26 and 5, one verse. All right. Now look at this. And this is the Most High talking to Isaac about his daddy Abraham. He said, because this is Genesis 26 and 5, because that Abraham obeyed my voice and kept my charge, my commandments, my statutes, and my laws. So that means before there was a Levitical priesthood, before there was even a Moses to write down the Torah, Abraham was a guardian or a keeper of the Torah. Because the laws of the Most High was given at creation. Adam had the laws. Noah and them had the laws. You understand? So we understand that, right? So I just want to show that Abraham knew the law, statutes, and commandments. So what we read in Leviticus, Abraham knew about. When we read about building altars, Abraham knew about building altars. He knew the laws. All right, so I want to show that first. Now let's go to Genesis 18. Genesis 18. Strong's Concordance. Genesis 18 and 1. The birth of Isaac confirmed. And the Most High appeared unto him in the plains of Mamre. And he sat in the tent door, in the heat of the day. And he lifted up his eyes and looked, and lo, 3 men stood by him. And when he saw them, he ran to meet them from the tent door and bowed himself toward the ground and said, my master, if now I have found favor in your sight, pass not away. I pray thee from thy servant. Let a little water, I pray you, be fetched, and wash your feet and rest yourselves under the tree. And I will fetch a morsel of bread and comfort ye your hearts. After that you shall pass on. For therefore are you come to your servant. And they said, so do as you have said. Remember, the agreement is what at first? Abraham said, I'm going to fetch a morsel of bread, right? And comfort you your hearts. After that you shall pass on. For therefore are you come to your servant. And they said, so do as thou hast said. The agreement was just about bread at first. And they agreed. Right, these are three celestial beings, angels. You understand? And this is right before the destruction of Sodom and Gomorrah. Okay? But the agreement was just about bread at first. I just wanted to point that out. All right. Now look at this, verse 6. And Abraham hastened into the tent unto Sarah. And he said, make ready quickly 3 measures of fine meal, knead it, and make cakes upon the hearth. And Abraham ran unto the herd and fetched the calf, tender and good, and gave it unto a young man, and he hastened to dress it. And he took butter and milk and the calf which he had dressed and set it before them. And he stood by them under the tree, and they did eat. So we cannot act like that these angels did not eat the flesh of these dead animals. They didn't drink that milk. They didn't have butter, and they didn't have bread or butter for the bread. Ain't that what we read? Right. Hey, as y'all brother, I would never deny what we read. But look at this. When you go back up to verse 7, Abraham ran into the herd and fetched the calf tender and good and gave it unto a young man, and he hasted to what? Dress it. Let's look that word dress up. You know, we're not talking about a skirt. Dress it, huh? Look at this. Now look at what dress is. All right, outline of biblical usage. All right, look at this, y'all. To do, fashion, accomplish, make. To do, work, make, produce. To do, to work, to deal, to act with effect, to effect. To make, produce. To prepare. To make an offering. See, so in the command to dress that calf, the law of preparing it and offering it was understood. Because we just read Abraham knew the law, statutes, commandments, and judgments of the Almighty. He told him to dress it. And when we read the story, we think that this happened in a few minutes. Y'all know how long it takes to slaughter an animal, to gut it, to skin it, to remove the organs. That's a whole process that has to take place. So when he told him to dress it, this is what he was telling them. Prepare it for an offering. So our position is the flesh has to be prepared lawfully for us to chew on it. And if that is not happening, it's considered offered to devils. It's considered unclean and an abomination. All right. So dress it. That was the command, and this is what's in the definition: to make an offering, to prepare it. All right, according to the law. All right. You still got your hand up, sis, or you still got your hand?
You have to put it down somehow. I forget. You got.
Oh, do it. Okay, no, never mind. It's all good.
I have to re-hit it. I have to re-hit right. Oh, lower my hand. Okay, there we go.
There you go.
Okay, so what we miss in this story is the fact that the calf was lawfully prepared before angels chewed on the flesh of the dead animals. It was lawfully prepared for an offering, and this is before the Levitical priesthood. I mean, Abraham knew the law of how to properly process, prepare, and kill an animal if you're going to chew on it. That's why I went to the definition and showed it. So we ain't got to act like we're not reading that they did eat it. You understand? What I believe the nation has missed is the fact that it had to been prepared lawfully. It had been prepared and made ready for an offering lawfully because Abraham knew the laws. All right. When we go to Genesis chapter 12, Abraham knew the law of making altars.
Right. So they basically knew how to make a holy kill, basically.
There you go.
If you want to put it that way, Nate. That's what he's saying. And so you don't slaughter your own animals, so they're not killed in a holy fashion.
Right.
Absolutely.
I don't understand the stance, but yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, y'all, even if we go into the meat market or the grocery store, that you can bet your bottom dollar it ain't been a righteous kill like we just read in Leviticus. No, all you gotta do is look at a video of the horrors in the slaughterhouses. No, it's not. It's not. But that's the meat we buying out the grocery store. Right? So for one, we not killing our own flesh. We ain't putting our own hands on it. And for two, what we are eating, somebody else is killing it, but they're not killing it righteously. That's why, you know, and that's why the position we've taken lately is, no, stay away from it, period. You know what I mean? Because it can't be righteously killed, you know what I mean, in the situation that we are in. All right,
Now,
let me
can
go.
I ask another question real quick?
Absolutely, sister.
So my brother's on here too, Asavi. You don't know him, but
What's going
our
on, bro?
father,
Blessings to you. Blessings to you.
I think he's on here still. I don't know. I'm not sure. Maybe he dropped off. But so our father, he's from West Africa, and
Okay.
and back home where they're from, they still do slaughter their own animals.
Right.
So they don't, because there's not, you know, they don't have the sophistication of America to have grocery stores and all that stuff.
Right.
So they honestly don't eat meat much because it is a process to have to go slaughter an animal. But
Yeah.
if they do, and they're doing it according to traditions, is that still considered okay? Or is it not because of?
Okay, so this is the thing. When we go back through the list of what has to happen in Leviticus 17, all right,
Okay.
what door of what tabernacle are they bringing the dead animal to?
I
What
got that. But I
what
guess they would
altar?
be slaughtering it like how Abraham would be then, or no, that's still not
Yeah,
okay.
but Abraham knew how to make altars.
Okay. Yeah,
You know what I
that
mean?
makes sense.
Abraham knew how to make altars. He knew what to do with the blood. He knew what to do
Uh-huh.
with the fat on the organs.
Okay.
You understand?
Okay.
So
Yeah.
no, it wouldn't be because I know a few brothers that own their own farms and they got their own
Mm.
cattle and all that. You dig? And so that's the next question. Like, well, I'm gonna kill it myself, but look, there are still Levites or priests in the earth today. Some people claim they know where they at. I mean, I leave that up to y'all. I don't subscribe to the 12 tribe chart, none of that madness. I don't believe we got to go to Haiti and find a priest. You know what I mean? Or somewhere in Africa. You see what I'm saying? But what has to happen is what we read in Leviticus 17 and Leviticus chapter 7. The blood got to be poured into the ground and covered with dust. The fat off the organs have to be removed, and the fat off the organs have to be burned on an altar. All right. And the blood has to be sprinkled on the altar. Right. At the doorway of the tabernacle. They got a tabernacle, they got a makeshift portable tent that's dedicated to the Almighty. Nah. Ain't nobody doing that. Not even the Ish, not even the Jewish folk. They're not even doing that. Nobody's doing that. So our stance is, because that's what people say. Well, man, ain't nobody got that, and that's why we say don't eat it then, because every provision is not in place for you to do it. Trip off this is the Maccabees and them were priests, and they had their cattle in the wilderness, and they still didn't eat it because the holy place was defiled. In our case, sister, it ain't no temple. It ain't no tabernacle. If anybody had a right to kill some animals and eat on them, it would have been the sons of Mattathias because they were priests. So I would say no. I mean, no. Even if you had your own cattle and raising them, you understand? Let them fulfill their purpose. I'm even against breeding them. Let them reproduce at their own rate. You know what I mean? Like, you know, let them cultivate the land. How about, you know, their dung fertilizes the soil? You understand? You got hundreds of acres. You ain't gonna need no lawnmower if you got so many cows. And I'm like, let them live and multiply and reproduce, and like you want to live, multiply, and reproduce. Right? We think we done fallen so low. We think that the only purpose for animals is to chew on them. What's their purpose if we can't eat them? I'm like, bro, they got a gang of reasons to be alive. A gang of reasons to be alive. All right. Genesis 27. I hope that answered your question, though, sister. As your brother, I would say no, because it's still things are not in place. Abraham was a worthy officiant at the altar of the Most High. He was. He knew the laws. He knew how to build the altars. He knew how to properly prepare and all that. Right. So anybody today, I would say no. You feel me? Or go find you a certified priest. If some brothers out here claiming to be Levites, go get with them. Go get with them. Genesis 27. And this is Rebekah. All right. And Rebekah heard when Isaac spake to Esau, his son. And Esau went to the field to hunt for venison, deer meat, and to bring it. And Rebekah spake unto Jacob, her son, saying, Behold, I heard your father speak unto Esau, your brother, saying, Bring me venison, and make me savory meat, that I may eat and bless thee before the Most High, before my death. Now look at this. Bring me venison, and make me savory meat, that I may eat and bless thee before the Most High, before my death. So guess what, y'all? I'm not going to act like we not reading that they was eating flesh. I think that's where people thought we was going with it. You act like our forefathers never ate flesh, bro. Ain't nobody never said they wasn't chewing on animals. All right. What I will say is they knew the law of process, preparation, and slaughtering, a righteous kill. They knew what to do with the blood. They knew what to do with the organs. They knew who to bring it to. They knew what to do with the altar. Right? That's not happening today. So as your brother, what we've arrived at, we like, nah, stay away from it. And our mind is all unclean because the process is not being upheld. All right, now look at this. Bring me venison and make me. Look at this. We're going to click on make. Look what make is. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Oh. Make in Genesis 27:7. It's the same Hebrew word in Genesis 18:7, where Abraham said, dress this. When Isaac told Esau, make this, guess what, y'all? Prepare it and make an offering. There it is. The laws of preparation were known by our fathers. They never went to any Gentile meat markets to grab any type of meat to eat. If they was going to get down, they kept the laws of preparation, process, and sacrifice in order to eat it. During the Maccabean revolt, the brothers had their cattle with them. They were priestly families. But the place where you bring your dead kill to was profaned and under attack. What they eat for the whole war? Veggies. And they said because they didn't want to be defiled. You see that? So when we fast forward back to James, the leader of the Messiah's movement, his biological brother, in Acts 15, he tells Paul to abstain from meats offered to idols. Meats offered to idols are any type of flesh you chewing on that has not been lawfully processed, prepared, and killed, according to the Torah we read. Look, order of Aaron under the Levitical priesthood and under the MELCHIZEDEK priesthood. We got Abraham, we got Isaac, who knew the laws of preparation. All right. So now, sis, want to go to Genesis, the 9th chapter. All right, Genesis, the 9th chapter. Did y'all understand what we just read? Is it understandable?
It's good. It's good.
Okay, let's go to Genesis 9. Let's go to Genesis 9. All right, now trip out this, y'all. Covenant of the rainbow. All right. When we go back, we're gonna read this, and then we're gonna go back to Genesis 6 as well, because the Most High had made a covenant with Noah and the animals. All right. And gave them a certain way to eat. All right, that's in Genesis 6. But in Genesis 9, this is what we got. This is what a lot of brothers and sisters, get hung up on. And again, you can only live off your own conviction. All right. But Genesis 9:1. And God blessed Noah and his sons and said unto them, be fruitful and multiply and replenish the earth. Y'all, this sound familiar, don't it? What did we hear this at before?
Garden.
Genesis chapter 1. So is this the Most High repeating to Noah what he did with Adam? Because the same thing was told to Adam, be fruitful, multiply, and replenish this earth. Right? Is it the same thing, or do we got the Most High changing in his instructions. All right, let's read.
It's the same instructions, but they're in a different state because they're in a state of sin.
Sin, right.
Yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely. I've heard that before. You know what I mean? Because we're in the state of sinning, then we got the right to chew on the carcasses of dead animals. Like I mean, I heard it before. You know what I mean? Like that's in the state we're in, so it's fine now, right? So I've heard the arguments and all that. But watch this. Watch this. And true about this, we was in the state of sin also in Genesis the 6th chapter. We was outside the garden in Genesis the 6th chapter. All right. Now because that's when the flood came. Genesis 6, Genesis 7, Genesis 8. Now we in Genesis 9. All right. So the sin theory, if it's true, it got a hold for Genesis the 6th chapter as well, because we was in the state of these flesh suits then. All right. But watch this. And the fear of you and the dread of you shall be upon every beast of the earth, and upon every fowl of the earth, upon all that moveth upon the earth, and upon all the fishes of the sea. Into your hand are they delivered. All right. Now, does this mean that Noah has the right to torture, rape, and do whatever he wants with these animals because the fear and dread of him is on them? Or does it, because he says, until your hand they are delivered, or does it mean the same thing that was told to Adam? You got dominion over the Most High's creation. But that dominion don't mean you can do whatever you want to do. That means you to be, you to be lords over the Most High's, creation. You're supposed to guide them and instruct them, and you understand? But because, I'm saying that because of this. Some people read that and they justify the butcher houses and the slaughterhouses today because of what it says in Genesis 9 and 2. All right. Is this the same thing he told Adam in a nutshell? That you got dominion over all the animals? Or does this mean you got the right to set up slaughterhouses, corporations? You can rape them, breed them, torture them. You can chew on them and do whatever the hell you want with them. One or the other. It either means you got dominion over the Most High's creation and you have to lawfully have dominion, or you can do what you want with it. One or the other. All right, I'm gonna leave y'all with that. Verse 3. This is where everybody go to. Watch this. Every moving thing that lives shall be food for you. All right, well, hold on, y'all. Hold on. Every moving thing that lives.
I know where you're going.
Every moving thing that lives. So we good to eat whatever. If this means what we're reading, every moving thing that lives shall be meat for you. Y'all, that mean everything from pork, shrimp, crab, and lobsters. Huh? Y'all, even down to human consumption. People. Yeah. You can't be mad at the cannibal because the cannibals read that and say, I got a right to chew on shoulder blades and loin meat. You understand? So either that mean every moving thing, or you're gonna say, well, no, every moving thing, because you got to remember, Noah knew the difference between the clean animals and the unclean animals. Right? Y'all, even if we go with that, the clean animals still got to be lawfully processed, prepared, and slaughtered a certain way before you can eat them. All right? But this is where folks go and say you can eat whatever you want to eat. This is where the Hebrews go and say, I got the right to eat lamb, cheeseburgers, oxtails. Right? But y'all, I believe the argument we need to focus on the aspect of, is it a righteous kill though? Has it been properly processed, prepared, and slaughtered for you to eat on it?
Well, based on the teaching that you just gave, Genesis 9:5 now makes more sense to me.
Exactly.
Because it says, and surely your blood of your lives will I require, at the hand of every beast will I require it. So basically he's saying that even the shedding of the blood of beasts, like there's a requirement or an expectation that I have. Like I kind of didn't get Genesis 9:5 completely because it kind of reads a little difficult, but it makes sense that he has a requirement even for the shedding of blood of the beast.
He does.
Yeah.
He does.
And that makes more sense.
If we stick to that, then everywhere where we see our forefathers, righteous men, chewing on it, you know what I mean, we can understand like, oh, that was properly, that had to be properly processed, prepared, and slaughtered. You understand? Like you can't just walk up to any old type of clean animal and boil it in acid. And then in other words, you can't just do whatever you want with his corpse and think you got the right to eat on it. He has a requirement, like you just said, my sister. He has a requirement. There's a requirement. Now look at the rest of 3. It says, every moving thing that lives shall be meat for you. Even as the green herb have I given you all things. All right. Some people will say that by the time that animal get on your plate, it's not moving at all. So 9 and 3 don't mean every moving thing that lives shall be meat for you. Meat meaning food. All right. I'd heard that understanding before. By the time that sirloin get on your plate, that dead animal get on your plate, it ain't moving at all. Right? So the living things that move is compared to the Genesis 1:29. You know what I mean? Every herb bearing seed, the fruits and grains of the earth, and all that type. You know what I mean? I've heard that breakdown before because, in essence, what a lot of brothers do is specifically from the Nazarene point of view is our view is the Most High don't change. You know what I mean? And a lot of brothers believe what the Most High is saying to Noah, he already said to Adam. This is a reforming of the new world. You understand? So what he gave Adam to eat is what he's given Noah to eat, because dead animals on your plate are not moving. So how can it be food for you? But what's living or alive or that moves are the fruits and the plants of the earth. That's living food.
Yeah, I agree with that 100%. I just had a conversation about that with somebody because I'm more on I'm into science too because I'm in healthcare. So I literally had a conversation about that with somebody because I was like, I think it was one of the sisters that was on the post, and I was explaining, no, it was actually somebody else, but I was explaining how plants are still living. Like you can take a piece of lettuce and cut it up and just leave the root and put the root in water and it will regenerate because there's still life in the plant.
Yes.
And that's why if you leave a potato, it'll still germinate because there's still life in the plant, because plants consume carbon dioxide and what they give off as their waste is oxygen, which is what we need.
Right.
But when you kill an animal, all that's left within it is carbon dioxide. All the oxygen, all the life is actually gone out of it because it's dead. So
Absolutely.
all that's left in it is the waste. So I literally had a conversation about that with somebody the other day.
Right, right. Yeah. So exactly, look, excellent point. So when it says every moving thing that lives shall be meat, meat, y'all, mean food. It don't necessarily mean flesh. It means food. So the living or the moving food for you, he compared that to the green herb which he have given you in that verse 3. You feel me? From the Nazarene point of view, y'all, we believe that what the Most High gave to Adam, he gave to Noah, which is dominion in this earth, which is to be fruitful and multiply. And he also gave him a what we call a living or a diet. Now look at verse 4. But flesh with life thereof, but flesh with the life thereof, which is the blood thereof, shall you not eat. And surely your blood of your lives will I require at the hand of every beast. Will I require it? And at the hand of a man, at the hand of every man's brother, will I require the life of man. You understand? So even if we go with the narrative of chewing on dead animals, look, always remember it got to be a righteous slaughter, a righteous process, and a righteous proper preparation. If that's not the case, then according to the very Torah that we read, it falls up under the category of abominable, unclean, and offered to devils. And that's why you see brothers, now we stay away from it. That's why you see the Maccabees saying we're going to eat veggies while we go to war against these Greeks. We don't want to be defiled. Now, look, I want to show y'all something too, though. Watch this. Let's go back to Genesis 6. There's a covenant, still Melchizedek order, covenant made with Noah. I'm starting at verse 17. Same guy, Noah. And behold, even I do bring a flood of waters upon the earth to destroy all flesh, wherein is the breath of life from under heaven, and everything that is in the earth shall die. But with thee will I establish my covenant. Y'all, we talking about the Melchizedek order, or what's called the renewed covenant. Noah was under that same covenant. But with thee will I establish my covenant, and you shall come into the ark, you and your sons and your wife and your sons' wives with you. And of every living thing of all flesh, 2 of every sort shall you bring into the ark to keep them alive with you. They shall be male and female. So the covenant is with Noah, his wife, his sons, their wives, and the flesh and the animals. And to keep them alive. That's part of the covenant. Not to chew on them. To keep them alive with you, they shall be male and female. Of fowls after their kind, and of cattle after their kind, of every creeping thing of the earth after his kind, 2 of every sort shall come unto you to keep them alive. Verse 21. And take thou unto thee of all food that is eaten, and you shall gather it to you, and it shall be food for thee and for them. Meaning the food, back to Genesis 1, verse 29 and 30. Noah and his household ate the same food that the animals ate on the ark. To keep them alive. The covenant is made with Noah, his wife, his sons and their wives, and the animals. 2 of every kind, male and female. And guess what, y'all? They was eating the same food. They was not eating each other. That's the covenant. Thus did Noah according to all that the Most High commanded him, so did he. Right? So that's the same, like Genesis 9 is Noah. Same guy, Noah. All right, so at times, y'all, just different perspectives on what it is. But I just want to show y'all why we stay away from the flesh, and why those that fellowship with us stay away from the flesh. Not just for health reasons, but even like scripturally speaking, there are reasons, scripturally speaking, on why we decide to stay away from the dead flesh of animals.
Valley, help me with 2 more, and then I promise I'll let it go.
Okay.
If you can help me understand.
I'll give you some scriptures to think about, but I want to talk to him about later. I'll speak through your phone, but you can hear me, right?
I can hear you a little bit, yeah.
Yeah, but like after you finish teaching, I want to state to you some scriptures for you to help me, or at least you can take into consideration, because I'm the kind of person, where I'm thinking. 1 Corinthians 8, 1 Corinthians 10. I'm thinking about, you know, the Hamashiach,
Yeah.
God on the cross, not the cross, but you know what I'm saying, God on the stake, and taking into consideration as far as those laws, as far as even the preparation. I want to get some further study myself before I even speak. So that's why I'm gonna just listen. But those scriptures will run through my head.
Absolutely. Absolutely. We can go over all of them, bro. I'm
Well,
with
the
you.
one that I wanted to ask about though is why the Messiah helped them catch fish. Why did he do that?
Yeah. Which scripture you want to go to?
You know the one where he's on the boat with, I think it's Matthew, right? And they couldn't catch any fish, and they lay their nets down, and
Yeah.
then he told them to lay it in the water, and then a whole bunch of fish got caught.
Yeah. Yeah. What you talking about is the beginning of his ministry. That's in Luke 5. That's in Luke 5, 1 through 11. And right after that, he told them, y'all gonna be fishers of men, right? Come and follow me.
Right.
When you read the witnesses of that in Matthew and Mark, when you read the witnesses of it in Matthew and Mark, trip off this. The whole aspect of catching the fish until the boat almost sunk and all that, it don't agree with what they account in Matthew and Mark. And both of them are at the beginning of his ministry. He tell in all three accounts, he tell them, come follow me, I will make you fishers of men. But in Matthew and in Mark, there ain't no mention of this fish scenario. There's no mention of it, right? And now, in one account, you got the sons of Zebedee that was there too, James and John. In one account, it says they were fixing their nets, mending them. In the other account, it said they was washing their nets. You understand? So what I'm basically saying is this: you got conflicting stories. You got conflicting stories in the Gospels pertaining to certain events. One of them is the fish story in Luke 5. Luke 5, 1 through 11 conflicts with Mark 1, 16 through 20, and Matthew 4, 18 through 22. When you read all three of them about the same event. I'm going to make you fishers of men. The accountant Luke disagrees with Mark chapter 1, 16 through 20, and Matthew chapter 4, 18 through 22. It's not even brought up. It's not even mentioned. All right. And for example, I'll give you another example. The death of Judas. How did Judas die in the Bible? Judas Iscariot. How did he die?
I thought he was hung, but I'm not sure now.
Okay. Well, what you say, Nate?
Oh, I'm sorry. I was looking at some scripture.
How did Judas die?
How did Judas die?
That's the question. I thought he was hung. I thought he hung himself.
Yeah, I thought so too.
But then the Apocrypha, doesn't it say like his blood was poured out into some field or something? I don't know. I can't remember.
Yeah, but I thought, from my reputation, I thought it was something as well.
Right. Okay. Well, how about this? It's two different accounts of how Judas died.
Mm-hmm.
All right. One account say he hung himself. The other account say he fell headlong, meaning head first off a cliff, and his guts.
Yeah, that's the one. Yeah, that's that I was thinking of.
All right. In one account, he gave the money back. Remember, the money he got to betray Messiah, he tried to give it back to the priest. They ain't accept it. Right. In the other account, they say he hung himself in the field that he purchased with the money that he used to betray Mashiach.
Yeah.
So what I'm saying is, y'all, there's conflicting reports in the scriptures concerning certain events. Everything don't harmonize. You know what I mean? And that's even down to the fish story. Trip off this. Even the fish story, him eating fish after he resurrected.
Right. I was gonna say that one too.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Now trip off this. Show you how real this get. Luke 24. He eats fish with the disciples in Jerusalem. He eats fish with the disciples in Jerusalem in Luke 24 after his resurrection. Y'all roughly remember that?
Yeah.
It's in Luke 24 after his resurrection. He eat fish.
This was a honeycomb or something like that, right?
But he's in Jerusalem.
Right.
And he told them, do not leave Jerusalem until you get immersed with the promise of my Father from above. So according to Luke 24, the disciples never made it outside Jerusalem until Acts the 2nd chapter when they got the fiery tongues. They witnessed his ascension and everything. He told them, don't leave Jerusalem until you get the promise. And in Luke 24, he ate fish and a honeycomb in Jerusalem. Okay? In John chapter 21 and in Matthew and Mark, the Messiah told them, meet me in Galilee after I resurrect. Not in Jerusalem. Meet me in Galilee. All right? Y'all, Luke 24, they never left Jerusalem. All right? John 21, he ate fish with them at the Sea of Galilee. There's just one problem. Galilee is 75 miles north of Jerusalem. Walking there is 4 days one way. For them to have made it to the Sea of Galilee by the time he resurrected. Right? If they started walking from the day he died, they would have missed him by 1 day because he was in the ground 3 days. All right? Let alone back to Jerusalem, that would have been an 8-day trip for them to meet up with him in Luke 24 to eat the fish and the honeycomb. So what I'm saying is even the resurrection accounts, right, of who he appeared to and how many times he appeared. Now, I ain't saying our master didn't resurrect. I ain't saying he ain't a sin. What I'm saying is we got different accounts of what happened.
Yeah.
Of what happened during his ministry and upon his resurrection. You know what I mean? I mean, accounts that do not harmonize. You feel me? And that don't mean we don't believe or nothing like that. But the whole thing is this. When you realize, like, okay, when you get to the history of the Gospels and all that, all right, when was Luke written down? When was Matthew written down? Mark, John. When you start getting to the history of it, you start seeing these things were written down by students of students. Like, you know, it got the Gospel of Mark on it, or Matthew, but really was written by Matthew's student, his student. You feel me? And was written down 2nd century. Not by Matthew himself, but by a student of a student.
Right.
Feel me? So naturally
lost in translation.
Yeah, so naturally certain events you're gonna have different of what really happened. You
the telephone game, the telephone.
Yeah, but that's natural and that's okay. Is all I'm saying. Right. But what I'm saying is,
I've also heard that the interjection of like certain of the fish stories had something to do with like Catholicism and that's why they have the fish head on. It has something to do with Catholicism and Nimrod, and that's why they have the fish head on the Pope, and like the fish represented something in Babylon too, and so did the honeycomb.
The fish god.
Yeah.
Dagon is the fish god.
Right.
Now, what you just said, I mean, I can send it to y'all. I'm gonna send it to you. I'm gonna send y'all 2 very thoroughly researched videos about the 1st century Messianic movement and how certain things were interjected as, you know, things were being formulated hundreds of years later. You know what I mean? For example, you got the story of Messiah feeding the multitude in the desert sushi and biscuits.
Okay.
Huh?
Right.
I mean, what? Think about it. Was it raw fish or cooked fish?
Oh yes. Yuck.
Now, in the desert, was it raw fish or cooked fish?
Yeah.
You see?
No, I don't know how fish made it into the desert in the first place.
Exactly. Now watch this. I mean, it was a miracle. You know, he took a few pieces of fish and a few loaves, and you know, did his thing. But trip off this. When he recounts the story, when he told them, beware of the leaven of the Pharisees, they say, dang, it's because we ain't bring no bread. He say, look, you don't remember the 5,000 I fed and how much bread and fragments you took up? Or what about the 4,000 that was fed? And how many fragments of bread you took up? Huh? When he's going back over the story in Matthew the 16th chapter, do y'all know the 2 times that is recorded that he fed the multitude in the wilderness sushi, that he don't even bring the fish up? It's not even brought up out of his own mouth. He don't even say, you don't remember I fed them fish and bread? Let's go there. Let me show y'all that real quick before we go out. Matthew 16. Notice how he don't even bring it up. So that goes back to what you said you heard before. Fish is a later what they call it, interpolation, a later interjection into the scriptures. Because look, when you get into the first century gospels, like the Gospel of the Nazarenes, I actually have it with me. The oldest gospel, it's actually older than the gospels in your Bible. And when you go back through the resurrection account about what happened at the Sea of Galilee, it ain't fish. When you go over the feeding of the multitude in the wilderness, it ain't fish. It's bread and like clusters of grapes. You know what I mean? Now, I don't know if any of y'all ever read that, but we can stay within the scripture and show you exactly certain things do need to be brought into question.
I thought Nazarenes couldn't eat grapes though.
Nazarites.
Can't.
Nazarites.
Okay.
You take a Nazarite vow. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Yeah, no, not Nazarene, Nazarite. Now look at this Matthew 16. Yeah, there's a difference. All right, now look at this right here. Matthew 16, verse 5. He said, when his disciples will come to the other side, they had forgotten to take bread. Then Messiah said unto them, take heed and beware the leaven of the Pharisees and of the Sadducees. And they reasoned among themselves, saying, it is because we have taken no bread. Which when the Messiah perceived, he said unto them, O ye of little faith, why reason ye among yourselves? Why reason ye among yourselves? Because you have brought no bread. Do you not understand? Neither remember the 5 loaves of the 5,000 and how many baskets you took up. You don't even bring fish up. Verse 10. Neither the 7 loaves of the 4,000 and how many baskets you took up. Fish ain't even mentioned, but it's mentioned in the story. You see that? How is it that you do not understand that I spake it not to you concerning bread, that you should beware of the leaven of the Pharisees and of the Sadducees? Then understood they how that he bade them not beware of leaven of bread, but of the doctrine of the Pharisees and the Sadducees. But notice how when he goes back over the account, he don't even bring fish up.
Yeah, that's true.
That's why it lead a lot of, brothers and sisters to believe fish is a later interjection into the scriptures. And to interject into the scriptures, y'all, is not hard. It's not hard. There's been plenty of scribes who have had their hands on our records. You know what I mean? Look, y'all, the word Easter is in your Bible, KJV.
Right. Yeah.
That means a scribe saw Passover in the Greek and decided to write Easter.
Right. Because the Romans who canonized it have always been trying to interject their own gods.
Exactly. So we can't act like, ain't nothing, they never interjected anything. Let's not be gullible. And again, y'all, I read the entire Bible. I read the Bible every day. Yeah, the Bible has changed my life. Let me say that on record right now. The Bible has changed my life. Totally around. You understand? But if we're going to be about truth, we got to be about all truth. You got to be about all truth. That don't mean you don't believe in the creator of heaven and earth. That don't mean you don't believe in the Messiah. I know I do. Look, wholeheartedly. You understand? But we got to be real with ourselves and understand our enemies have had our records in their hands, and they have with certain scribes who have been given authority that many times have interjected things to propagate certain agendas.
Right.
That's just the truth. That's just the truth. It ain't, it is what it is. You dig? But that ain't nothing to be mad about. Ain't nothing to be mad about. It's just, you know what? Let me go ahead and research and study more. and get more and deeply involved into it. But I'll definitely send y'all that because since you brought that up, like I heard it was a later interjection. Oh, hey, Nate, I ain't say it. I ain't say it, Nate. Don't get on me, bro. I ain't say it. You understand? But based on my research system, that happened. That did happen. Absolutely. Hundreds of years later, but yes, it did happen. All right. The fish, the story of the fish in the wilderness feeding the multitude, interjection. The two accounts of him eating fish after he resurrected, which both is impossible because you're in separate geographical locations.
Right.
Later interjection. You feel me? And also the story at the beginning of his ministry about I'm gonna make you fishers of men. And that don't even agree with the synoptic gospels of Matthew and Mark. You see what I'm saying? So, I mean, it ain't nothing to be mad about. When I started looking at some of these things, it made me study more. Let me study more and go ahead and get this. You understand?
And we also got to remember that, the New Testament the Septuagint was in Greek. So it's almost like, I know in my father's tribal language, there's certain words that don't even translate. There's no way you can say them in the English language.
Yeah.
So if it's translated in Greek from Hebrew and they don't have words, they interject what makes sense to them.
Yeah.
Right.
Exactly. And try to convey certain ideas. I mean, some knowingly, a lot knowingly, some unknowingly.
Right.
That's all I'm saying. There are definitely agendas being propagated. All right. Let me see if I got this. Let me see if I got this on my computer. If I can share it real quick before we get up off here. Y'all got any more questions? Anything though?
Very good.
Now today was a listening lesson day, but I do got some scriptures later that I'll probably end up sending, like 1 Corinthians 8, 1-13, 1 Corinthians 10, 28, Romans 4, 1-2, of course, and Acts 21. I got a whole bunch more, but I'm gonna research your point and listen, because that's my whole thing, is to listen, and I'm gonna look at the whole thing in general, from even the finished work of the HaMashiach versus looking at those scriptures and the change that took place. So I got a lot running through my mind.
No doubt, Nate. And look, man, it's all good, bro. Also remember, by the time of Acts that you pulling up, chapter 21, and also Acts chapter 15, those are the Jerusalem councils. His work was finished at that point. You know what I mean? So for the disciples who knew him personally, for James who knew him his whole life, and the disciples who knew him personally, you understand? At that moment, we're under the order of Melchizedek. At that moment, the veil had already been ripped. He had already resurrected and ascended. And the order still was about meats offered to idols.
That would make sense, because that's what the Gentiles probably struggled with. So that's probably why it's also in those scriptures in Corinthians and Romans, because these are all Gentile areas that Paul is dealing with.
Right.
Exactly.
I agree. Exactly. That's why Malaki went over Acts 15.
Right. No, I understand. I understand.
And I would love, no doubt, bro, we definitely can go over to Corinthians 8. You understand? We're gonna slow roll it, because we're gonna have to, because he talk about meat offered to idols in there, right? But he talk about a certain liberty that a believer has. A believer has liberty to eat meat offered to idols in the temple of an idol, as long as don't nobody see him that has the knowledge.
That's not good.
So what I'm saying is, when you slow down and read, because Paul's letters are very valuable, because when you slow down and read Paul's letters, you'll start seeing that Paul in many ways was in opposition to what the apostles were teaching. In many ways, he started doing his own thing. He's responding in his letters. He's responding to the leadership. You understand? In Galatians, he say, look, when I first got this understanding, I didn't even go confer with man. Neither did I go and check in with the disciples or the apostles who were apostles before me. Now, why wouldn't you do that? If anybody got the message of Hamashiach, it would be those who had the fiery tongues on them. It would be those who knew him personally, right? And then Paul comes up, finally, 3 years later, and then 17 years later. You see what I'm saying? In Corinthians and in Galatians, he's responding. So then he going to say, look, I even got into it with Peter. What was it over? You remember? They got into it over table fellowship.
Right. What
table fellowship. What the Gentiles are eating.
Right.
See what I'm saying? Like Paul's teachings in many ways conflicted with what the apostles were saying. So then in Galatians 2, he say James, Peter, and John, who somewhat seem to be pillars of the movement, makes no difference to me. God accepted no man's person. Even Barnabas was carried away with his madness. So I had to withstand Peter to the face. You like, dude, what is it you teaching that's in opposition to what the ordained apostles are teaching? Then he goes on record and say, if anybody bring you another gospel, count him cursed. See, Paul is fighting. Like a lot of people don't realize he's in opposition to the apostles. He didn't see the food requirements that serious.
But I think, don't you think he's in opposition though, because he has to deal with Gentiles, people that don't understand the ways of Israel. That wasn't their culture.
That's an excellent point. But when you get into like the Acts of Peter, or what's called the Clementine homilies, that's Peter's journal, they already had Gentile protocol. So they would allow Gentiles to be a part of the movement and believe in the Messiah. It's just the Gentiles were held to the same level of discipline as an Israelite was.
Yeah, because it says in the Old Testament that the sojourner or the foreigner amongst you has to do as the nation does.
Exactly. So when James told Paul, this is what he gave it to him in writing, to the overseas communities, the Gentiles. Stay away from meats offered to idols, fornication, things strangled, and from blood. This is what Paul was supposed to teach amongst the Gentiles. They weren't against, because all the disciples had to go out amongst the Gentiles and teach. Messiah gave them that mission when he resurrected. Go into all the nations, baptizing them in the name of the Father, Son, and the Ruach, teaching them to observe everything I command you. They already had a mission to the Gentiles.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? Paul just came up with his own mission to the Gentiles.
Right.
That's why he was in opposition to what James and them was saying.
He was compromising.
Yeah. So, Nate, we definitely can read his letters because his letters reveal a lot.
That's why in Peter it says that you have to be well studied to understand Paul, because his writings can be so confusing to people, and that's why people shouldn't jump to the letters, because even Peter told them that he will confuse you to your own.
Right. Not just Paul. I want to go through the whole understanding. When Hamashiach, when he died, he was resurrected, and the whole order. So I'm gonna study the whole thing. I'm gonna look at this point. You know me.
Yeah.
I'm gonna listen first.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay.
And we'll chop it up.
Absolutely, brother. And look, I'm always available. I mean, if I ain't, balancing all these children I got, but I'm always available, brother. If I don't pick up, just leave me a message, and I'll make it my business to get back to you. Believe that.
I have another personal question, Mally.
Go ahead.
Were you able to get your children to transition to?
Oh yeah. I ain't playing no games.
How did you do that?
I just trick them.
I gotta cook 2 meals a day for me, one for me and one for them.
Yeah, I had to kind of play psychological with my children, because I still eat cooked plant-based food too, but I'm more like 50-50. I do like 50% raw, 50 cooked. So I get them like little, they think they eating chicken nuggets, but it's really, plant-based nuggets and all that.
Plant-based,
Or
okay.
if it don't taste good enough, I'll sprinkle a little agave in there, make it taste a little sweeter. Then,
Okay.
I just trick them into, and they think they're eating like the flesh, but they really not. They think they're eating tacos. I done got a food processor and chopped up some walnuts and
Okay.
seasonings on it. And, they think they eating taco meat when really you eating walnuts, So,
Did you have to ban them from fast food? Because like when you travel and stuff, like how like we'll be traveling home maybe tomorrow if the snow doesn't stop, and they're like, can we get some like Burger King? Like, do you have to ban them for like that? Pretty much.
for the most part, sometimes it's hard though. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? I don't allow them to eat eat the flesh or whatever, but they may want to get a cheese pizza.
Okay.
Like that, you know what I mean? I done bent on that before. Here, get you some cheese pizza or something like that. Because
Okay.
I don't do the dairy anymore either. But
Right.
I
Do
mean,
you do
we
cheese?
slowly
Do you do
transition.
the like almond cheese, do you do like diet cheese or anything like that? Like, you know
We
what I'm
do
talking?
cheese. We make cheese out of like cashews,
Yeah.
Brazilian, what is that? Brazilian nuts and all that. You know what I
Okay.
mean? Just and look, it be good. Man, I ain't gonna lie to y'all. With all the recipes that's out there right now, it's to our advantage to get off the dead animals.
Yeah.
It's to our advantage because look, they got it in plants. It tastes just as good if you ask me.
Yeah, I agree. And you don't have that heavy weighed down. Like I've been vegan for about 5 years now.
Okay.
I don't have any issues or any desire to go back to eating meat. In fact, it makes me feel queasy the thought of it because I just know it's gonna make my stomach run. So I don't even I'm very funny about what I eat.
I
But
ain't gonna lie, I'm a work in progress. I ain't gonna lie
but
to you.
No
all I
doubt,
tell
Nate.
them to do, all I tell Nate to do is just eat what I'm eating. But I know you
It's
gonna
a
get there.
process. Hey, bro, it's definitely a process. But man, you make a sacrifice like that. I ain't gonna lie to y'all. I mean, I'm hearing more from the Most High than I ever heard from in my life now. Like I'm thinking more clear. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? My thoughts are more quick. You know what I mean? Prayers I put out happen faster. And then like with me, I used to swell up like around my joints, like around my knees and all that, like every other month or something like that, elbows, and I used to swell up. Feet used to swell up and all that. Y'all ain't had not one problem since I've been
So
off
you're
that flesh.
probably developing gout. You're
Yeah,
developing acid in your joints.
yeah. I ain't had
Yeah.
not one problem. No
Mhm.
swelling, no gout symptoms, none of that in the 10 months that I've been off dead animals.
Yeah, that's
You know what I
good.
mean?
You sound
So,
like an elder we have out here named Dr. Emmanuel, but we'll talk about him later. But yeah, I'm gonna dissect all this.
Yeah.
Like this is good stuff. I'm gonna hit the books. I'm gonna dissect all this here
let's
both
do it,
ways,
brother.
and we gonna chop it up. You already know.
Let's chop it up and reason amongst each other. We can slow roll
Absolutely.
it. We can slow roll it, bro. This does not have to be the last time. Let's slow roll it piece by piece. You know what I mean? And let's see where we land at.
Absolutely. I'm with it.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Hey,
I'm
look.
with it.
that doc he's talking about, Malaki, he was a big part of why I totally transitioned because I was kind of vegetarian, pescatarian before him, but then he's probably 67 years old and he's been vegan for 40 years and he has absolutely no health problems. He has no gray hairs. He's he runs basketball with 23-year-olds and it's amazing.
I bet. All we doing, y'all, is pointing everybody back to the beginning.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like being we part of a healing ministry. And everybody think it's like something like super special. All we doing is telling everybody, look, adopt the meal plan that the Most High gave in the very beginning.
Right.
You know what I mean? And you'll see these things like, look, we in the age of so many biological plagues and everything.
Right.
You feel me? Now is the time to go ahead and dedicate this temple completely over to the Almighty. You feel me? Like that man is 67 years old out there running full court basketball.
That's facts.
Dr.
That's
Smith.
facts.
I gotta get like that, bro. What you mean?
Yeah, he's amazing. But
Yeah,
he's in the book heavy like you guys. So we getting there. We getting there.
yeah,
We
absolutely.
getting there.
But this definitely was a blessing.
Yeah, thank you very much for taking the time. We
Please call
appreciate
me
it.
and let's have more of these and let's share them with the nation.
Absolutely.
You already know.
That ain't no
Absolutely.
thing. You know what I mean? Let's share everything with the nation. And that they may be edified. Because it ain't about me, man. 'Cause I don't, you know, I'd rather see everybody being edified. Oh, okay. I see why you saying that.
Right,
I disagree.
Right.
I disagree. You know what I mean? I disagree a little bit, bro, but I see, okay, this is what you saying. Yeah, that's all we saying, bro. That's it.
Like I just wanted to hear it to see where you were coming from, because when you guys were online, I didn't really get the whole gist of it because I was busy working anyway. But
Yeah.
now I can kind of understand where you're coming from. And plus you clarify for me like how the animals are slaughtered, which is very important.
Yeah.
So I can see where you're coming from.
Absolutely.
But I'm still
brother.
chop it up with you.
Please
We
do.
gon-
Please do.
We gonna get it.
Let's
I
get
mean,
it.
if y'all are interested ever and y'all want to do it, I'm more than willing to come help with any kind of health conference that you guys want to do in St. Louis or anywhere. So just let me know.
I'll let
I'm
you.
more than interested.
I definitely let you know. Absolutely. Absolutely. I definitely let you know. I'm supposed to be traveling end of February. I think we got like 16 cities we supposed to be going to. And I'm going into I got the like all the historical slides about like the first century messianic movement dealing with the Messiah and his disciples and all that, and how they ate. You understand? So I got a lot of historical, not just the scriptures, but historical testimony from those who knew the disciples going back to the first century, second century. I got a lot of testimony of certain church fathers who knew and were instrumental in voting on what would be the New Testament, but knew how the original followers were getting down. So I'm traveling, giving lectures, basically. You know what I mean? So
we'll book you.
yeah, I'll let you know. Me and the brother YAH'KI, but he want me to break off the history part of it. You know what I mean? So I'm like, yeah, I got you, bro. He like, bro, I just need you to break the history off. And I'm like, I got you. It's all good.
All right.
We'll definitely chop it up.
Yeah, we gonna
Good to see you, bro.
And we gonna get it done. I love y'all. All right, remember that.
Likewise, we'll send you this tape, and as soon as we hang up this on this Zoom.
Can you pray us out though?
You want me to pray?
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. Heavenly Father, the owner, creator, and possessor of all there is, and the power, name, and authority of your glorious Son, the mighty Messiah, our ascended Master, who's currently at your right hand. We call, we summon, we invite, we invoke the presence of your fiery Ruach to touch the mind, body, and spirits of every last one of us. Fill us with your Ruach, that wherever the sole of our feet tread, that wherever our shadow is seen, the devils crowd and flee, and your people are delivered. We invoke protection, we invoke power, we invoke to be healed from all type of manner of plagues and illnesses and diseases. We stand against COVID-19 and every so-called variant of it. We cover ourselves with your eternal spirit. We stand against every plot, every plan, every scheme, every plot of the adversary, every bewitchment, every enchantment, every seduction of the adversary sent against our houses. We cancel it right now through the eternal spirit. Ruach HaKodesh. We cut it down with your unsheathed sword. We smash it to pieces with your hammer, Heavenly Father. We call for the whips and chains of fire for the neck and for the back of Satan and all his demons, every fallen angel, and every sickness that is sent against your people. We cancel it. We terminate it. We bind it over course it can't be broken, and we order it back to the pits of darkness where it belongs. The gates of hell will never prevail against us. We call and invoke 12 legions of angels to surround us, with walls of fire from your fiery throne.
Yes,
Cover
sir.
every doorway and window. Cover every doorway and window of our mind, body, and spirits. Cover every doorway and window to our dwellings and to our vehicles. Bind up every accident. Bind up every disease. Bind up every so-called enemy that's plotting to bring us down, to bring us harm. We invoke Ruach HaKodesh power and
Yes,
fire
sir.
against the adversary. We call for the whips and chains of fire for the neck and for the back of Satan. We bind them, we rebuke them, we cast him and every angel, demon, principality, and sickness under his command. We cast them down, bind them up
Yes,
with
sir.
cords that can't be broken, and we command them back to the pits of darkness where they belong, for they will not prevail against us. And we thank you right now, and we declare ourselves victorious in the name, power, and authority of Yahushua HaMashiach, the mighty Messiah, who has gotten the victory and who is seated at your right hand right now. And we thank you for the
Yes,
victory right now. Hallelujah.
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 Hallelujah. Selah. All praises.
Yahuwah.
Yahoo. Yahoo.
Be well.
Be well, y'all too. Peace, love, light, healing, and balance to you brothers, my brother and my sister. Love y'all indeed and in truth. Yahoo.
Love
Yahoo.
it.